is your friendly saxophone teacher, Miss Walsh. I get asked a lot by my students, how do I count this? And I'm pretty sure they don't mean, I don't know how to count up to four. That's not what they mean. What they usually mean is, what are the syllables that I'm using to count? The first thing I want you to know when you're thinking about counting, it sort of doesn't matter. You can count anything. The important thing is that you're assigning syllables to the right subdivision, the correct subdivision. So I'm going to go through rhythms. Like, this will also cover really basic rhythms, and how they get shorter and shorter. And so those are like the layers that you're counting. So you can count anything. You could count chimichanga, but you just have to assign certain things to the bigger beats and certain things to the subdivisions of the beats. But I'm going to give a basic overview of what we tend to use. It sounds like it's too simple. It's not even professional, but professional players use these exact things. Okay, so I'm going to get my handy dandy board. Hopefully this is readable. There we go. So let's go through some really basic stuff. Ignore my bad handwriting. Let's get really basic. So we're going to start with a time signature of 4/4. That's pretty simple because you're just counting numbers on those beats. So here's a metronome. So you're just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty simple. Okay. But it's important to know that stays the same no matter what changes in the rhythm. So anytime anything is happening on those downbeats, you're going to count those numbers. If it's a 2/4 measure, it's 1, 2, 1, 2. You got it. Okay. Then let's get a little bit faster with eighth notes. We just call these ands. So if I'm talking about it to a student and I say the and of 1, that means I'm talking about the second eighth note that's starting on the downbeat of 1. So what happens on the downbeat, that's 1, that's the first eighth note. Then this is the upbeat, we say that's and. So we're still pretty simple. That just goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you're still keeping track of the beat the same way that you did here. That's really important. So this kind of stays the same. Let's get a little harder. Let's get into these 16th notes. We're going to add some extra syllables. I don't know if my handwriting is not great, but it's 1 E and a. So the numbers are still in the same place. They still happen on downbeats. The ands are happening anytime you're on that next eighth note. Then in between, for 16th notes that are happening in between those two things, it's E for the first one and for the last one. And I've seen books that have different things. This is what I learned when I was in band class, and all of my fellow teachers use this. But I bet there's probably regional variations. So maybe somebody in another state says it differently. Well, anyway, this is what I do. So we're going to count this one. So I'm going to go back to these and build it as I go so you hear how it sounds. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Okay. Now I'm going to add a rhythm where it's a little mixed up. In Rubank, around page 30, they start giving like these mixtures. So I want to show how that works. 1 is in the right place. Then this is an eighth note. So the next note you have is the and. It's starting on that eighth note upbeat, which would be here. And it's just that the note after that is the 16th note. So it's 1 and then you've got an in there. So the first half would be 1 and a 2 and 1 and a 2 and. If you have two 16th notes in the beginning, now we're using the E. So now that's 3E and 4 and 3E and 4 and. So I'm just going to do that a few times. Hopefully it's helpful. So 1 and a 2 and 3E and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3E and 4 and. Okay. Alrighty. Now there's a lot of possible variations on that. You can have 16th notes anywhere. Let's say you're stumped. You don't know what you're on. I mean, everything is in here. Everything is. You've got to have subdivisions on all of the notes. So rewrite it. If you're stumped, rewrite it. Write the whole measure out as 16th notes. And then let's say you've got 2/8 notes. You've written it out, sort of subdivisions. You've written it out into 16th notes. You put slurs. So da, da. You write slurs. But then you can at least see where you are in the measure. All right, one last thing is, what if we've got a 6/8 time signature? Um, Most people start by counting all six. So they would think, okay, there's 6/8 notes. So I've got to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The problem is around here, it's kind of too many. When we count 6/8, if you're in band, if you're in an orchestra and you're counting 6/8, the conductor is not usually going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're not going to do that. It's too much. And it's usually faster than you could conduct or count at that speed. We group it into two groups of three, and the beat is usually a dotted quarter note. So the conductor is conducting dotted quarter notes like that. Da, da. And then it's up to you to subdivide that into the three eighth notes. So it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would do 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a, because that flips very easily into 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a. See that kind of feels natural, and you can feel where these downbeats are. That's important because we need to know where the downbeats are so we can know whether to give emphasis on them or de-emphasize them. Sometimes with downbeats, we actually want to pull back and focus on the upbeats, which drive us forward to the next downbeat. So we might actually be bringing out and because they lead you to two. And big beats, I heard a great conductor say, big beats don't need a lot of emphasis because there's an ingrained emphasis, a natural emphasis, just by the fact that it's on a downbeat. So usually students start by really heavily emphasizing those downbeats because it's sort of new. They're just starting to count. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Then later you want to get off of that. You want to be like 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. The energy is in the notes that lead you to the downbeats. So knowing where you are in a measure is really helpful. What if you have 30-second notes? Oh, have you ever had 30-second notes? It's a lot of ink. I didn't even write it. So let's write just something I'm going to make up. We'll do 4, 4. Let's say we've got 4, 5. Okay. 30-second notes have 3 lines. Every time you go deeper, like with more rhythms, you add another horizontal line, and those are beams. And so 16th notes, you've got 2 beams. 30-second notes, you've got 3 beams. If you dare have 64th notes, they're 4 beams. And yes, I've played with 30-second notes. Okay, so let's say you have this. So we've got an 8th note. There's only 1 beam here. And then 4 30-second notes. So because there is not any kind of set syllable that we use, what I would do is have all of these syllables, just kind of bump them up. So instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, at that point, maybe start like shift the eighth notes to being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So instead of doing one and, maybe 1, 2, and count the 32nd notes as if they are 16th notes. 2 E and A. So if you did that for the whole measure, it would be 1, 2 E and A, 3, 4 E and A, 5, 6 E and A, 7, 8 E and A. Have I ever actually done that? No. At that point, the basic stuff is enough to give me an outline. But if you need something to count, you could make something up. I mean, one that works really well is pepperoni. Pepperoni pizza, pepperoni pizza. So it could be food or it could be chimichanga taco, chimichanga taco. It really doesn't matter. But you have to put it in place, like in relationship to something else. So if it's a 32nd note, there's got to be four of them compared to 1/8 note. Then if it's a 16th note, there's got to be two of them compared to 1/8 note. So whatever syllable you use has to fit that relationship. Okay. It really doesn't matter all that much. It just has to relate. All right. And I know rhythm is one of these really hard things. Don't be afraid to write things out. Write out the measure that you're struggling with, and kind of you could also blow up the rhythms, meaning write everything twice as long. So let's say those 30-second notes are giving you trouble. So rewrite the whole measure so that everything is twice as long. So eighth notes bump up to quarter notes. 16th notes bump up to eighth notes. 32nd notes bump up to 16th notes. And then see what you have. Count that, and then just count it until it's the same tempo as if it were written originally. Just use every tool at your disposal. I'd also recommend with rhythm that you learn how to use some kind of music notation program. I've been using MuseScore for a long time now. I'd recommend MuseScore a lot. You could play your part. You could put your exact part in there, the saxophone part, or you could put percussion in there and have different notes. Like you have different percussion sounds. Put different percussion sounds on different things. So it could be boom, din, 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 do, boom, din, 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 din. So something that's marking downbeats, something that's marking eighth notes, something that's marking 16th notes, whatever you want to mark. So you hear what's a subdivision and what's a downbeat, what's bigger beats, whatever it is that you're trying to keep track of. So I hope this was helpful. If you have questions, you can leave a comment and I could explain in a follow-up. I'm going to try to add as many videos as I can, and I'm hoping to answer everything at some point. So good luck, practice hard, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.